We all know that the Dark Fountains are pretty important in Deltarune. It's like, it's where the game actually happens. But we only have 2 out of the 7 chapters of Deltarune, so why not theorize on where the next fountain's gonna be? I know this is a topic a lot of people have talked about, but I want to give my own thoughts on it. So we have a couple of requirements. A lot of people have talked about this, but I'll give a recap. There has to be double doors to enter because of the silly little animation Chris and Susie do, so we'll be looking at places in the town that have double doors. An exception for this is when the Dark World is created in a room where Chris is already in. Chapter 3, for example, with the whole Chris creating a dark fountain thing. So now that we know that, let's get into the video. I will be talking about all the options available, and at the end I'll say what areas I think the Dark Roads will be in. Remember, this is all for fun, and just me throwing out some of my ideas. Some of these ideas are a bit unlikely, but just stuff I think would be cool. First, we have QC's Diner. I believe this place is important because it used to be where Chris, Asriel, Toriel, and Asgore went after service. So, I mean, it's pretty important, and along with this, there's a theory going around that everyone in Alphys's classroom is going to have a chance to go to a Dark World. We already had Chris, Susie, Noelle, and Birdley, so Caddy, Jockington, Temmie, Monster Kid, and Snowy are also going to have a chance to go to Dark World, we think at the very least. So if we go to QC's Diner, this could be a good chance for Caddy to be in a Dark World and Jockington to accompany her. But let's move on to something else, because there's not too much evidence for QC besides that mini theory. So let's go to the hospital, which I think is one of the weaker options. The hospital has double doors, so you can jump into them with the cute little animation. However, important for the hospital, we have Rudy Holiday, who is an important character being related to Noelle, and someone we can interact with in both Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. But, to be honest, I don't see the hospital being a Dark World. For one, there's another Dark World I think that will center around Rudy, and we already did get some medical enemies and animations in the Cyberworld Dark Fountain, so I don't really think there'd be a repeat of that. Well, the hospital, I mean, it's an interesting concept, but I just really feel like it just can't be a Dark Fountain. So, with that being said, let's move on to a place more likely for Rudy to show up in. Church! We were going to church in Chapter 4. To me, this is practically confirmed. We know that Chapter 3 is going to take place in the Dreamer household, but after that we're heading to church. I'm not religious, I promise. Of course, we have the double doors, blah blah blah. The double doors basically don't matter. If we talk to Rudy in Chapter 2, he says that tomorrow he'll be well enough to go to church, or he'll probably be well enough to go to church. During the night of that day, we'll deal with the Dreamer World Dark Fountain, so in the morning, that'll be tomorrow. I don't know why I have to explain that. And so that'll be the day where Rudy's gonna be able to go to church. With how much importance is placed on Noelle and Rudy, I would not be surprised if we somehow get dragged into going to church with Rudy. The Dreamers and the Holidays have a history, so it makes sense for Chris and Toriel to most likely go with Rudy for his first time out of the hospital, in what we can assume to be a while. And it's implied that, well, Chris, Asriel, Toriel, and Asgore used to go to church. I believe it's implied that Chris doesn't go to church anymore, but who knows, special occasions, maybe Chris gets dragged to church, once again throwing ideas out there. But it doesn't just stop with Rudy talking about, going to church the next day. The church itself would make a very good Dark World, as we'll be able to learn a lot more about the Angel and the Deltarune, which is of course big topics in Deltarune. I could see this chapter bringing the bigger story into perspective and giving us a goal for the next Dark World we enter. Maybe we could learn more about the Knight. I feel like if we do go to the church, I feel like it's going to be a giant lore dump, if that makes sense. Just angels, titans, everything. Next, we have the Holiday Home. We don't know much about the Holiday Home besides the fact that it exists and it has a gate, so it's probably a pretty big house, which would make a good Dark Fountain. But I don't think the Holiday Home is going to be a Dark Fountain. I just thought it was worth mentioning. This is because we already had a story for Noelle, and the church supposedly is going to be for Rudy, but I mean, it's worth mentioning. Noelle was obviously an important character, so it makes sense we would learn about her. But I feel like if we go to the Holiday Home, it would most likely be during the Light World, and during this we could possibly learn more about what happened to Des. Anyways, we all know that Icy's Pizza is gonna be a Dark World because it's double doors and... Okay, next place. The Flower King Shop. This one I have a lot of faith in. To start off with, the place has double doors, at least in the back. The front entrance doesn't actually have double doors, but behind, like in the later room, it has a locked set of double doors. This place is good because we're able to learn a lot more about Asgore and the events relating to him getting fired from the police force. And of course, a secret boss of this area could be the 6 flowers from Asgore and Toriel's wedding that resemble the 6 fallen humans. This area seems very important, with the flowers having a chance of being a secret boss, and of course Asgore being related to Chris, so we're definitely going to learn more about Asgore. Plus, the event relating to Asgore getting kicked out of the police force possibly has stuff to do with the bunker and Des. That's more so guessing, but it'd be a chance to learn a lot more about that. And just in general, I think this would be a very fun place to explore, since if we're getting a chapter about, Toriel, I assume we'd maybe get a chapter about Asgore. I know that not every single Undertale character is going to get a chance to shine in Deltarune, but considering that Asgore is Chris's dad. It's not impossible. Anyways, on to something that's definitely going to be important, the bunker. Oh boy, I don't think I need to say much because everyone talks about it, but oh well, let me have a shot at this. Of course, you know, the bunker has double doors. I mean, okay, I know I should, like, say some cool stuff here, but just look at it. This is, like, so suspicious. No Among Us jokes. This is suspicious. A random bunker, like, outside of hometown, in the woods. That's creepy. We know that Chris was here once because of what Snowy and Monster Kids say at the end of Chapter 2. And along with that, the place is just overall a mystery. The place might have a relation to Gaster. We don't know too much about it, but it's obviously important. It's clear that we're going to the bunker at some point. I mean, there's a chance it might not be there might be a dark road in it, which would of course be important. But I feel like there's also a strong possibility that we, like, enter the bunker and we're still in the light world. That could be interesting. Like, we could have, like, battles in the light world while in the bunker. But and that's just some random theorizing. Okay, now let's get on to the stuff that is admittedly me throwing random ideas out there. This stuff there's like zero evidence for, and I'm not saying for you to believe me, I just want you guys to take this into consideration, because I think it'd be pretty cool, though this is definitely fan territory. What if the entirety of the school itself became a dark world? Now, this is outlandish, but you heard my little rant, so let's get into this. The school, of course, has double doors and already has a dark world inside of it, being the Castletown Dark World. Wouldn't it just be epic if the entirety of Castletown got expanded into a giant dark world? I mean, this would be very interesting, because we know that the Titans have those weird eyes that are from Chapter 2's little Rousey story, and those same eyes appear in the Castletown Dark World, so there's an obvious link between those two, and if the Titans were to appear, wouldn't it be so cool if they were, like, in the school with us in there, and it was just a giant Castletown? That would be so cool! Or it could possibly be a thing where there's a bunch of, like, mini sections of Dark Worlds, and we have to try to find our way back to Castletown. And maybe if we get back to Castletown, then we have to fight the Titans or something like that. This is me throwing an idea out there, I know I'm kind of crazy, but let's get a bit more crazy. What if the entirety of Hometown became a dark world? This is kind of similar to the school one, where Castletown would be somewhere and the main group has to get back to it and be kind of like be a culmination of everywhere the group has been so far. There could be an abandoned cyber world, there could be the abandoned card kingdom and fun stuff like that. Or possibly it would just be like the light world, except just like all dark or something. I don't know. This strangely has some validity. I believe in the prophecy it says that like the world shall be covered in darkness. And if too many dark fountains are created, it could just take over the entirety of the hometown. Anyways, that's just an idea. Okay, I've rambled long enough. Now time for the order of the dark fountains, or the dark worlds, or at least what I think they'd be. Chapter 1, we have the closet dark world, of course. Chapter 2, we have the computer lab. Chapter 3, we'd have the dreamer household. Then I'm confident that Chapter 4, we have the church. I believe Chapter 5 would be the Asgore Flower King shop. Chapter 6, strangely enough, okay, I forgot to mention, I'm gonna add this in right now because I forgot to talk about it, oopsie doopsie. Sans and Papyrus's house. I mean, there is some slight build up to this with Sans asking if you could hang out with Papyrus, and Sans Papyrus, haha, important characters. Maybe, I mean, it's a possibility. Anyways, back to the ranking. Chapter 6 would either be the bunker, Sans and Papyrus's, maybe the holiday home, though I'm more so confident that in Chapter 6 we'll get to the bunker. Strangely enough, I don't think that Chapter 7 is going to be the bunker. I feel like Chapter 6 we're going to have to deal with the bunker, and then Chapter 7 there's going to be some cataclysmic event that we have to deal with. Maybe during Chapter 6 we learn more about and deal with Gaster, then in Chapter 7 we have to deal with the Titans and the Roaring, or vice versa. But anyways, that's my main idea. I wonder what you guys think. Of course, everyone has like talked about the Dark Worlds already. This is my own interpretation. What do you guys think? Are we confident in Chapter 4 being the church? What do we think about Chapter 5, Chapter 6? Where do you think the bunker is going to take place in? Anyways, I guess with that all being said, I'll see you guys next time, and hopefully by the time all the chapters come out, we can look back at this and say, oh my god, Spiffy, what the fuck were you thinking? See you guys next time.